CBS 5 Eyewitness News.
San Francisco pulls a switch, rerouting the torch relay. The runners carry the flame, not to the protesters, but in front of people caught totally off guard. Thousands of people who had been waiting for hours, disappointed. The route was totally changed, and that is not all. Ellen?
No, the run was drastically cut short, and in fact, we were all kept in the dark until about 2 o'clock this afternoon when we found out exactly where that run was begun again, and boy, did it make a change. The original plan was for a 6-mile relay, which would start at McCovey Cove, go right along the Embarcadero, make a big loop out near Fisherman's Wharf, and then come back finishing here at Justin Herman Plaza. But the run ended up being only 3 miles, starting at Van Ness and Pine, then it turned onto Bay Street, taking Marina Boulevard, and ending finally at Doyle Drive, a long way from Justin Herman Plaza, where a lot of people were here until the very last minute. Now, Simon Perez is close by on the Embarcadero, and Simon, we don't really know if this change was a plan B, a plan C, or whether they were just kind of flying by the seat of their pants.
You're right, Alan. This was a very flexible plan right from the beginning. The authorities always saying that it very well could change, and boy, did it ever. This indeed is where it was supposed to end. I was here with tens of thousands of other people waiting for about 2 hours. We were right there on the Embarcadero looking up at the ferry building clock tower, watched the minutes turn into hours. Nobody came by. This is where it really went. The day began as it was supposed to, with a ceremony at McCovey Cove behind AT&T Park. After a brief glimpse of the torch, the confusion and mystery began. Mayor Gavin Newsom was seen huddling with police, perhaps making the call to change the torch route. It was these crowds that very well could have forced the change. Thousands and thousands of people followed the mayor's instructions from earlier in the week to gather along the Embarcadero at the ferry building for a good look at the torch. As the minutes went by, the rumors began to spread. By one account, the torch had been shifted to a boat and would make the trip by water. Then it supposedly was transferred to one of the pier warehouses. At one point, there was even a rumor the torch relay had been canceled. After about 20 minutes, the torch reappeared on Van Ness Avenue, much to the delight of folks going about their daily business who had no idea they'd have a chance to see the Olympic torch.
All of a sudden, a mile-long parade of cops came by, and I just happened to, what luck. It came right by, and so it's exciting. It's wonderful.
I was telling him this is like a famous thing that's happening. He's more interested in all the police cars and ambulances.
From Van Ness, the torch went along Bay Street to Marina Boulevard and on down the Marina Green all the way to Crissy Field. The runners were dropped off along the way ahead of the torch and then took turns running the route.
We got inside information. We were down there, down on Embarcadero, just ran down here.
It was just amazing.
The route finished on elevated Doyle Drive, out of the way of the crowds, and that was it. It was over at 3:40. From Doyle Drive, the torch made it to SFO, where it is at the International Terminal now. There's a little ceremony, a relatively secret one as well, before the torch makes its way off to Buenos Aires. But Alan, boy, what a day. We all thought it was going to come here. We knew there could be changes, but who knew that here would not be a part of the torch route after all, with tens of thousands of people waiting.
Yeah, and the later it got, the more people got suspicious. Simon Perez, thanks a lot. As we were saying, a lot of people do feel like they were duped, kind of hoodwinked, but others seem pretty savvy, and they got on the move. In fact, the video can show you the crowd as it's actually moving, as they started to get word that, well, things had changed, and we're going to change even more. This is video from our wireless webcam that we had roaming throughout the crowd, so quality, take it for what it is, but it does show you how people were caught off guard. And of course, some of the folks had been at the ferry building, which was a designated protest spot, and Justin Herman Plaza since 5 o'clock in the morning. Mike Sugarman now with how some of those spectators felt. Mike?
Well, this kind of reminds me of the old Statue of Liberty play in football. The quarterback goes back, holds the ball, and a halfback comes around and takes it that way, while everybody else is looking that way. People had no idea what was going on, and you said there were protesters here from 5 o'clock in the morning, and there were, and they were maybe disappointed, maybe not, but there were people that really wanted to see this torch, and they didn't get a chance to see it. As time ticked off the big ferry building clock and the torch relay hadn't started, people got antsy. This is where the mayor had promised that if people showed, they'd see the torch. Slyly at first, more boldly eventually, people started to get a better seat on what was supposed to be the parade route. Police had set up these barricades on the Embarcadero early in the morning and said that if you would cross them during the torch run, you'd be arrested, except now they're wide open. There's no security here at all. These barricades only a suggestion. And they're not going to arrest all these people. It became clear the torch was not going to come this way, where thousands had lined up, and there was disappointment.
It's the Olympics. It's everything about freedom and peace and hope for the world.
We came out here, took the day off, came to support the athletes, and now I don't get a chance to see the flame. I just wanted to see the flame.
We're from Irvine, California, which is in Orange County, and we brought some high school students up, and we thought it was a great opportunity for our high school students to see the spirit of the Olympics, which is unity throughout the world. And unfortunately, with the torch being canceled and the closing ceremonies being canceled, our students did not get to take part and see that message of the Olympics.
The world shouldn't have to run after the torch. The Olympics is something that signifies unity. And I think that I understand why it needs to be moved, because there's a possibility of violence and you don't want anybody to get hurt. But at the same time, it's something that should unify the world, not something that people should hide.
Yeah, we talked to one protester who said, hey, we won. We wanted to disrupt the torch run. That's exactly what we did. If that's true or not, be that as it may, we don't know, but they're going to have some very pretty pictures of the torch in San Francisco, but they got a lot of disappointed people who didn't get a chance to see it, Alan.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, Mike, because earlier in the afternoon I talked to a Team Tibet person, and I wondered the same thing, if they felt like maybe they lost out on their opportunity, but she felt like they accomplished their goal, even if their message doesn't get broadcast around the world like the Olympic flame does.
Well, I think their message will be broadcast because everybody was here. All the media, all the world's media was here. Exactly. That's the only place they had to shoot, and there were all the protesters here. That's the pictures a lot of people are still going to see.
All right, Mike Sugarman, thanks very much. City Hall insider Phil Mateer with us now. And Phil, your inside sources, what were you hearing down there? Was this a plan B, a C, or were they kind of ad-libbing this thing as they went?
Well, they had a meeting last night at City Hall, and it was determined that the size of the demonstrations was one thing, but also the opposing factions, Alan. We had the demonstrators who were against the Olympic torch, the Tibet freedom people, the Darfur people. We also had the Olympic Chinese boosters. Both were very vocal, and both were turning out in mass. And the decision was made that San Francisco didn't want to run a torch down between the two. There's going to be a lot of debate about whether that was smart, but ultimately the mayor's office says it was a question of safety, and that's why they instead chose to run it down Van Ness Avenue, one of the city's widest streets, one street that was easy to control, and a street that, quite honestly, neither side would be on, because neither one would have guessed that of all the streets in San Francisco, they would run the torch down this one. Even with the heavy police presence, crowds did amass towards the end, but by then it was over. Now, not everyone agrees with the mayor's call. We've already heard from people on both sides down at the Justin Herman Plaza who were disappointed. And Board of Supervisors President Aaron Peskin had a word or two about the mayor's action as well. Here's the supervisor.
Chinese ambassador has been in the mayor's office for the last few days, as have many State Department officials. I think a lot of this was really about PR, making it look like there was a perfect torch run, which ironically had neither supporters nor protesters. And at a certain point, is this the United States of America? Is this San Francisco? Or are we kowtowing to the United States State Department and other countries?
Well, you know what they say about San Francisco. One of the reasons we're here is to give the rest of the country something to talk about. And from what you just heard from Aaron Peskin and the mayor and everybody else, you can bet that the rest of the country will be talking about what we did and didn't do today. Alan?
All right, Phil Mateer, thanks. And we are, of course, waiting to hear from Mayor Gavin Newsom to see what he has to say about this change of plans. And I think the thing that struck me most were the kids who got out of school. They were hoping to see it, but they were disappointed. The tension did start very early this morning. Both sides were kind of jockeying for best position down here at the Embarcadero. Let me show you what it looked like along the Embarcadero as activity was ramping up really about noon today. Demonstrators spilled out into the streets. They actually surrounded a bus and brought it to a stop. Linda Yee is along the Embarcadero with more on the people who actually came out today very much in support of the Olympics. Linda.
Well, that's for sure, Alan. You know, I stood about 1.5 miles north of McCovey Cove where it was all supposed to start, along with the thousands of people, both the protesters as well as the supporters of China. Lots of supporters of China, all waving their red flags. And in the absence of the torch runners, they became the targets of the protesters. The verbal clashes were non-stop. But many of the families, workers, and business groups waving the flag of the People's Republic of China had only one thought on their minds: pride in the Olympics.
We're not here for politics reason. We want Olympic belong to the whole world. They cannot just use politics to, destroy it.
Immigrants from China insist their government is slowly changing. They argue Western media has it all wrong about human rights violations, but they're also confused. You couldn't stand here and protest if you were in China.
Yes, that's true. Yes. But what's wrong with that?
Well, you're protesting now. You're supporting your people now.
Yes. That's why we want both sides' voice heard.
And you wouldn't get both sides if you were in China.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
As the hour of the torch relay run neared, the clashes got even louder. The scene more tense. Suddenly, the scene at Embarcadero and Washington streets became chaotic. And it was clear no torch would be passing through. Pro-Chinese were frustrated.
Some people who block the road of the torch. So basically, they are trying to destroy how the one world, one dream. So they kind of connect the Olympic and the politics, which I think is wrong. They should at least give the right for the people who standing here can see the torch go through.
One world, one dream, he said, his dream to see the torch dash tonight. But Alan, I also heard a lot of people were frustrated. One police lieutenant told me there were probably 25,000 people lining this route today.
Unbelievable. All right, Linda Yee, thanks very much. And so the crowd here at Justin Herman Plaza has pretty much dispersed quietly, except for the media who are still here and a lot of business people hustling, trying to get to the ferry. But Wendy, I would say the mood of the day is, some people accepted it, others are very disappointed, but, the Olympic Committee, the International Olympic Committee, still has to decide whether this torch run is going to continue, and then there's a question as to whether there will even be one for the London Games in 2012.
Yeah, it's been quite a day, and that is the big question tonight after all of this, not just here, but in Europe. Okay, Alan, we'll be back with you in a little bit here. We were able to follow the torch from start to finish. Video of the torch run today, the protests, and all of this commotion surrounding the move is always on CBS5.com.
I'm Len Ramirez at Mineta San Jose International Airport, where hundreds of American Airlines passengers were left stranded today. I'll tell you what's going on and why more of the same could be on tap for tomorrow.
I'm going to die. That's what I thought.
The new tool that is scaring smokers into quitting.
Here in the Weather Center, I've been monitoring the clouds that are still playing tag with the coast. But wait until you see what happens to those clouds for your Thursday. Stay with us. Pinpoint forecast as Eyewitness News continues on CBS 5.
American Airlines cancels more flights, leaving thousands of passengers frustrated today and looking for alternatives. Len Ramirez is at Mineta San Jose International to tell us what happened there. Len?
Well, Wendy, I know this doesn't look like much of an airport right now because there's so much construction going on here with the new terminal under construction, but it turns out that the detours around here were really the least of the worries for American Airlines passengers, at least for this morning. Passengers couldn't see the stalled airplanes on the runway, but there was no mistaking the lines of confusion at American Airlines San Jose Terminal and flight schedules with canceled in glowing letters. Julie DiCarlo of Menlo Park was desperately trying to get to Chicago for a meeting.
I'm on the phone with my travel agent, so.
Okay. In between your travel agent, tell us what happened.
Well, I just got to the airport and found out the flight was canceled. As of last night, it was fine, but so this is the first I've heard of it.
American Airlines canceled over 1,000 flights to check the wiring on their fleet of MD-80 aircraft. 5 flights at Oakland International, 12 at SFO, and 16 at Mineta San Jose were abruptly canceled, stranding thousands of passengers and disrupting plans.
Right now we're on our way back to Kansas to visit some family we haven't seen for 2 years.
My trip to St. Louis, Missouri is to spend time with my family. My brother's retiring from the St. Louis Police Department.
It kind of immediately exhausts you because you know that you're going to have to wait longer and don't know if you're going to make it there tonight.
I think they could have perhaps given some notification.
San Jose airport officials say the canceled flights are going to or connecting through Chicago, Dallas, and Austin, mid-range flights that use the MD-80. But there's no word on how long the safety inspections will take or if more flights will be canceled.
I think the first consideration that the airline has, and we share it, is to make sure that all the aircraft that's in the air are safe. And obviously customer service and convenience is very important as well, but safety does come first.
Passengers told us American was trying to help them find other flights, but for Julie DiCarlo, who was trying to get to that meeting, it was all that cell phoning that paid off.
My travel agent was able to find a flight for me, and that gets me still into Chicago tonight.
I just got off the phone with San Jose airport officials, and they told me that there are going to be more cancellations tomorrow, but they don't know how many, what cities are going to be affected or what flights, Wendy. So the best advice is if you have an American Airlines ticket, definitely check their website tonight. But when you're driving into the airport, you know, get the radio on, watch TV before you leave, because these things are changing a lot. And a lot of people who arrived at the airport here today had no idea what was going on because they had checked the website the previous night.
Right. Oh, okay, Len. Thanks for the warning. Call ahead is the word. The pilot of the Costco Busan was on a number of powerful prescription medications the day that ship hit the Bay Bridge. Federal investigators revealed that today. Captain John Cota was taking drugs for anxiety, depression, migraines, pain, sleep apnea, and glaucoma. They also detailed a number of incidents in which he was out of control, including a DUI conviction back in 1999 and a fight with a ship's crew back in 2004. That testimony came on the second day of the NTSB hearing into the oil spill and the accident back in November. Coming up next, your tax dollars not hard at work at all. From iPods to lingerie, what else federal workers bought with government credit cards? And seeing is believing, what heavy smokers saw that made them think twice about quitting. A new audit has found dozens of federal employees abusing their government credit cards. The study was done by the Government Accountability Office. It found improper purchases that were either unauthorized or didn't qualify. And that included charges for lingerie, iPods, internet dating services, and one dinner costing $13,500. That study also found that almost $2 million worth of items couldn't even be accounted for. Tonight, hardcore smokers have a new tool to help them quit. Dr. Kim Mulvihill reports that it's as easy as taking a breath.
Just telling smokers that cigarettes are bad for their health won't get them to quit. But show them the age of their lungs and you can get a reaction.
I'm going to die. That's what I thought.
In a new study, British researchers used a spirometer with roughly 500 smokers. The device measured how much air they could blow out in a second. That number was then put on a graph to determine the age of their lungs.
The smokers all had older lungs than the non-smokers, and everyone was told just how old. A 30-year-old had the lungs of a 70-year-old. But the big difference, those who saw the graph, the proof, so to speak, they were more likely to quit.
Even the heavy smokers were twice as likely to quit once they saw the results of the spirometer.
The thing that makes it work is that we are giving information in a way that can be understood, not only verbally but graphically.
In short, it's personal, and seeing damage done in black and white can be a big motivator. Dr. Kim Mulvihill, CBS 5 Health Watch.
That whole concept of lung age was developed by doctors in Portland, Oregon. British researchers say American doctors are calling to inquire about using the technique with their patients. Coming up next, a big warm-up on the way when the mercury will hit the 80s.
Back here once again live at Justin Herman Plaza. The Olympic flame has left, but exactly what happens to it now, we really don't know. Let me show you some video from earlier as the flame was leaving San Francisco by bus. This was about an hour ago. Members of the International Olympic Committee, as we told you, are going to meet on Friday talking about whether to actually cancel what's left of the international legs of the relay because of the widespread protests. Now, the schedule is that the flame will go to Buenos Aires in Argentina next, and then supposedly a dozen other countries before it arrives in China on May the 4th. The Olympics begin August 8th, so a lot of intrigue surrounding the Olympic torch. And Wendy, we were just being told through Associated Press that the flame has been taken to the international terminal at SFO, directly to the gate, been put on the plane, skipping the closing ceremony in San Francisco altogether. So it's gone from here, but the controversy certainly is not over. And we're going to have more, of course, coming up on CBS 5 at 6 o'clock tonight.
And there would have been controversy on one level no matter what happened almost, huh, Ellen? I mean...
Well, it's San Francisco, you know.
It's San Francisco.
And it's the only stop in North America,
right.
So
right.
It's a lot of attention.
Okay. CBS Evening News coming up next with Katie Couric. Thanks for watching. We'll be back at 6.
Blackmail. As I see it, it's blackmail. I'm not.
A juror outraged over Hans Reiser. The convicted murderer finally leads the police to the body of his wife. Now, why he could get a lesser conviction and sentence.
A tunnel of flames and smoke. We're going to take you into the fire that is scorching Butte County. See firsthand what has people running and firefighters pushed to the limit.
It's rarely this bad. Smoke, smog, and record-breaking heat bearing down on the Bay Area. When are we going to get some relief? I'm Wendy Takuda.
I'm Alan Martin. The news starts now.
This is CBS 5 Eyewitness News.
One day after Hans Reiser led police to his wife's body in the Oakland Hills, prosecutors announce a deal. It could mean a lighter sentence for that convicted murderer. Simon Perez is at the Oakland Police Department to explain why the DA's office went ahead and made this decision. Simon?
Alan, Nina Reiser's family was a big part of this decision to drop Hans Reiser's conviction from first-degree murder down to second-degree murder. Nina Reiser's family just wanted to know where her body was, and as the prosecution put it, now the family can decide where she's buried, not the man who killed her.
We have agreed to allow him to plead guilty to a sentence of second-degree murder.
Alameda County Deputy District Attorney Paul Hora dropped this bombshell at a press conference Tuesday afternoon. He said Nina Reiser's family agreed to drop the conviction from first-degree murder to second-degree murder in exchange for knowing where Nina's body was.
I'm also able to, end the speculation and help the healing process.
So now Hans Reiser faces a sentence of 15 years to life instead of 25 years to life. Hans Reiser's compensation for leading investigators to Nina's gravesite. Did you know he was lying the whole time?
I did.
Vince Dunn was one of 12 jurors who convicted Reiser of first-degree murder.
We felt confident that we were doing the right thing, but when the body turns up and he takes the police to the body, we all felt vindicated.
Dunn says Reiser should not be given a lighter sentence. After all, he says, what message does it send when defendants hold back the truth during trial only to be rewarded for coming clean later?
It's blackmail. As I see it, it's blackmail. I'm not a lawyer, but I think it's terrible to even ask for a reduced sentence. We, the jury, found him guilty of first-degree murder.
We have been talking to him for weeks about this.
Reiser's attorney William Dubois says the guilty verdict and the upcoming sentencing did indeed change the killer's attitude, pushed him to come clean.
Once the trial was over, his personality seemed to change. He seemed to be more receptive to other people's ideas, including his lawyers. maybe for the first time.
And that's why Reiser eventually led the police to this shallow 4-foot by 4-foot grave that remained a secret for nearly 2 years.
And he needs to confront the reality of his situation as soon as possible.
Reiser was scheduled to be sentenced tomorrow. That will very likely be put off. Now, the judge is the one who has the final decision as to whether the conviction goes from first degree to second degree. But Alan, the prosecutor, said today the judge has been kept up to date throughout this whole deal-making process, and he predicted that the judge would eventually go along with it.
But Simon, was the DA at all concerned about this message that, look, you can get on the stand, perjure yourself, and keep this a secret, and then maybe get some payoff at the end?
I specifically asked him that question, and he got a little perturbed about that, about this idea that he was sending a message that you can basically lie and then tell the truth and be rewarded for it at the end. But he just said that he wasn't concerned about it. He felt he was doing the right thing, especially because that's what Nina's family wanted.
Yeah, he did consult the family. All right, Simon Perez in Oakland, thank you very much. Now, if you want more coverage, there's complete coverage as well as up-to-the-minute info on the Reiser case. It's on our website, CBS5.com.
The weather has never been quite like this before. Hot and dirty from the smoke. We have a heat warning, red flag warnings, and a spare the air day coming up all at once. It is unprecedented. This afternoon, temperatures hit well over 100 degrees in Concord and a half dozen other cities, making it a very long, hot day for people who are working outside. And that includes our reporter, Len Ramirez. How are you doing out there, Len?
Well, we're doing okay now. A little breeze has come up, but it has been a very hot day here in San Jose. Bay Area air quality officials say that this is a uniquely unhealthy situation. They say there are days when we have smog. There are hot days. There are days when smoke from fires fill the air, but rarely, if ever, is there a day like today when all of those things come together all at once. On days like this, familiar landmarks like the Santa Cruz Mountains and downtown San Jose high-rises seem like they're from an alien landscape. The air is so thick and dirty, you can see what you are breathing, and it doesn't go down good, even if you are in shape.
It is bad. I've never seen it so bad in Northern California.
Jennifer Freeberg is training for a marathon. She decided on a light 5-mile run with friends due to the heat and dirty air.
It's harder to catch your breath, so you really have to slow down and take it easy.
It's even worse for young children, the elderly, and people with health problems like asthma. What's happening is a rare 1-2 punch of high heat and smoke-filled air. The heat creates ozone. Hot gases from cars and exhaust are trapped in the valley and baked in the sun. That's now combined with ash particles from wildfires. It stains the air and stings your lungs.
I can tell in terms of my breathing that there's something else in the air that's kind of making me have to stop for a while a little more frequently, get some water and that kind of thing.
What does it feel like?
Just a little more tightness in the chest, that's about it.
Tightness in the chest. It even stings your eyes a little bit, especially when the wind picks up as it has right now. Now, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District has called it for a third consecutive spare the air day for tomorrow, meaning the conditions tomorrow will be very similar to what they are today. Now, when are we going to get some relief from all of this? Roberto Gonzalez has more on that.
Len, you just explained it perfectly. The setup for us. In fact, Jack Broadbent, who's the executive officer of the Bay Area Air Quality District, says this is totally unprecedented. First off, you have the ozone, the smog, the pollution, all associated with the heat wave, and then you have the smoke from the wildfires. We have unhealthy levels of that PM, that particular matter, in the North Bay all the way to the Santa Clara Valley, but obviously everybody will be hazy and smoky again tomorrow. This is because of hundreds of fires continue to blow out of control and burn out of control, especially around the Lake Tahoe area. Then the Big Sur fire with that southwest wind ushering that smoke right there into the Bay Area. Couple that up with the heat. Check this out. Concord at this hour at this reporting station, 111 degrees, 109 apiece, Vacaville, Brentwood, and in Pleasant Hill. We've broken shattered records today. We'll answer that question about what is it all going to end. That's coming up, Alan and Wendy, later on in our newscast.
All right, Roberta, we will see you then. Not many of us, thank goodness, get to see this. Here's what it's like inside a wildfire that's roaring to life in Butte County. A news crew with a CAL FIRE escort, by the way, drove right into this firestorm. Thousands of people were forced to get out of there as the gusty winds blew the flames right towards their homes. Now, the Butte Lightning Complex fire has been burning for more than 2 weeks now, and it is roaring toward the towns of Paradise, Concow, and Yankee Hill. David Begnard spent the day on the fire lines with the crews. David, it's rough out there, to say the least.
It really is, Alan, and right now this fire moving towards Paradise is threatening the evacuation of some 27,000 people. Last night the fire was in and around the Concow area, but it moved southwest towards Paradise, and within just the last 6 hours is threatening to evacuate the eastern portions of this town. That could be upwards of 10,000 people. All you have to do is take a look at the sky behind me. It is the ominous sign people here have been watching and seeing all day. To quote one firefighter, it looked like Armageddon. Fires like to run, and right now this is a race firefighters are just struggling to keep up with.
When we have fire on both sides of the roads, it's an issue for getting our crews in and out.
Last night, the winds dramatically shifted, the humidity dropped, and the town of Concow was surrounded by flames. People were told to get out because this fire had jumped a major fire line.
If it jumps the west branch of the Feather River, then it's an up canyon fire with the wind driven, then it's going to be in the town of Paradise.
And right now, this is the view from Paradise.
It's not very damn hopeful.
Bill Gaylord's neighbors are gone, but he stayed back, trying to help direct firefighters in and save his home.
Everything here we build ourselves.
And he knows it could all be gone if this fire moving down that ridge crosses a creek below.
That's in light timber compared to this side. We have more brush and more timber on this side.
If it comes over to this side, thousands more people could be told to get out. That is, if this fire doesn't change courses again.
Just when we get a handle on one, Mother Nature turns her back on us and we get another one pop up.
As people move out, already exhausted firefighters, some who haven't had a day off in 3 weeks, are being told to once again move in.
All right, I'm sorry we lost David there, but David Begnard in Butte County. There's better news for the people in Big Sur. Some are able to go home now that firefighters are making some real progress on that fire. Crews say that the edge of the fire that threatens Big Sur Village on Highway 1 is mostly out now. Overall, the Basin fire is 23% contained, and we're told there's progress on the Gap fire near Goleta in Santa Barbara County. It's burning away from homes. Now they have that one 55% contained. Next, accidentally released from jail, a murder suspect on the loose for 2 months, and police are just warning us now.
Conserve or pay. East Bay Mud's plans and the penalties to get people to save water. Some say it may punish those who conserve the most.
And an urgent warning from the federal government over antibiotics, the risk that can lead to serious injury and surgery. A teenager accused of killing a man at an Antioch gas station has been set free, accidentally. 17-year-old Juan Martinez was booked into juvenile hall after the murder happened back in December. Well, jail guards unintentionally released Martinez 2 months ago after he was charged with the crime. The information was just made public by Contra Costa County in the hope that somebody's going to spot Martinez and that they can rearrest him. He, of course, is considered armed and dangerous.
East Bay Mud, the water management company, has laid down the law. It is spelling out exactly how much you'll have to pay if you don't conserve. Ann Notarangelo got an earful today from people who say it's not fair. Ann?
And Wendy, you're absolutely right. If you get your water from East Bay Mud and you're not conserving, you are going to have to pay. The only people who this does not affect are the households that are using fewer than 100 gallons of water a day.
It's also punitive to customers like us who have practiced wise water use since the
Dave George echoed the most commonly heard message. Those who are already conserving water say they'll be unfairly penalized by asking to conserve above and beyond the average water user.
I'm probably not going to be able to reduce my water, and I will pay, but we're lucky we can afford to pay.
Vicki Winston showed the board pictures of her water conservation efforts, including her brown grass and the bucket in the shower.
Here's our pool.
As expected, the board went ahead with its plan of a 10% rate hike, and households are being asked to cut water usage by 19%, apartments 11%, irrigation districts by 30%. But the surcharge only kicks in if you don't save 10% over your base amount. The base amount will be determined by averaging a household's water use over the past 3 years. There will be a $2 surcharge for every 750 gallons in excess.
It creates the same message to everybody that just, well, shame on you, you saved water last year, that's your problem. And it's just not fair, and I think it discourages people from conserving.
Roger Avery is one of the customers getting ready to appeal the water allocation, which can be done online or by phone. He's already conserving water in the shower, toilet, and clothes washer. And his San Ramon Neighborhood Association installed a sophisticated irrigation system and cut their outdoor water usage by 25%.
If they would only communicate with people, the exemption, come back and say, yes, you can have an exemption. They didn't even offer that in writing.
But the rates take effect in August, and in September and October, the first bills reflecting the changes will be sent out. People can ask for adjustments for medical reasons, changes in circumstances, or, like these people, proof of conservation. And East Bay Mud expects to be flooded with appeals. In fact, they may have to hire more people to handle all of the complaints and the appeals. Again, Wendy, the only people not affected are people who are using fewer than 100 gallons a day in their entire household, and that's about a quarter of the customers in this district.
Okay, Ann Notarangelo, thank you very much for the warning there. Coming up next, the dark side of young love. The number of teenagers who say they are in abusive relationships.
An urgent warning about certain antibiotics, the risk that can leave patients needing extensive surgery.
Losing twice as much weight without extra exercise. How to harness the power of the pen.
Schools should play a role in educating teenagers about abusive relationships, according to a law enforcement group. The National Association of Attorneys General says that too many teenagers face physical, emotional, and sexual abuse while dating. The group says that school programs could help teenagers recognize the signs of unhealthy relationships. Researchers say 68% of sexually active teenagers said that they have experienced some form of abuse. 20% of them aged 13 to 14 say they know someone who's been hit by a boyfriend or girlfriend. And nearly 50% say they know somebody who is being verbally abused. Researchers say early sexual activity tends to be linked with abusive relationships.
The strongest possible safety warning today from the FDA on a popular class of antibiotics. Dr. Kim Mulvihill explains they have been linked to a severe injury.
Cipro became famous after the anthrax attacks in America. The antimicrobial belongs to a class of potent drugs called fluoroquinolones.
These medications are very common. They're prescribed all the time for all different types of infections.
Now the FDA says these drugs, which include Cipro, Levaquin, and Floxin, must carry the most serious warning the government can require, a black box label. The reason? Fluoroquinolones increase the risk of tendinitis and tendon rupture, most frequently in the Achilles tendon, and less frequently in tendons found in shoulders, biceps, and hands.
Most patients will have pain, swelling, or inflammation for a good week or so before a debilitating rupture. But in some cases, the injury occurs without any warning at all, on the very first day of taking the antibiotic.
Fluoroquinolones already carry warnings about tendon injury, but consumer advocates pushed for the more prominent black box warning.
The other warning was obviously buried enough in the labeling that doctors and patients didn't see it. If they had seen it, there wouldn't be this continuing assault of tendon ruptures in patients.
Doctors and patients need to weigh the risk and benefits of using these drugs. Some people using them are at even higher risk of rupture. They include those over 60, heart, kidney, and lung transplant recipients, and anyone using corticosteroids. If you experience any adverse symptoms, stop taking the antibiotic and promptly call your doctor about changing medication. Dr. Kim Mulvihill, CBS 5 Health Watch.
Well, if you're trying to lose some weight, the power might be in your pen. A new study suggests writing down everything you eat can help shed those extra pounds. Researchers followed 1,700 people for 2.5 years and found those who kept a food journal lost more weight than the people who didn't.
It made me stop and think. So if I were walking through the kitchen and there was a cookie on the counter, I'd have to think, do I really want to write this down?
The research also suggests people who write things down could actually double their weight loss compared to those who don't keep the journal.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah, it might make you eat healthier too.
Roberta, you have had a busy day today. You got it all going on.
All of us are in this all together because it has been warm from the coastline to downright dangerously hot in our inland areas. So far along the immediate seashore, we've had highs in the low 70s. But meanwhile, as we head into downtown San Jose, the high temperature so far 101 degrees, just shy of the record at 103. You're looking at all the haze. Let's take a look at some of our backyard weather stations, beginning with Walnut Creek at 107 degrees, 109 Antioch to the south, Morgan Hill at 108, and Sonoma to the north at 110. So what should you expect? Bottom line is it's not over. Triple-digit heat, poor air quality, and also high fire danger. And because of all these ingredients, we do have an excessive heat warning in effect for the entire Bay Area through Friday, except San Francisco and the coast, an advisory because it's just not as hot there. Hazy conditions with smoke and smog in the atmosphere. A red flag warning in effect until Thursday, at least at this time. We do have a little bit of moisture in the atmosphere, but it's to the south around the Big Sur area towards Santa Barbara. Good news for firefighting efforts. Bad news is, as we are under the influence of high pressure, it's not going anywhere. In fact, this incredibly strong ridge continues to build and strengthen, and as it does so, we're talking temperatures just as hot tomorrow, if not even a degree or two hotter. Numbers tonight, very little recovery, not great sleeping weather at all. 60s and 70s, 109 Clear Lake, 109 Antioch, Livermore, Tracy, Brentwood, Pleasanton, 84 San Francisco, triple digits across the Santa Clara Valley as well. Winds will be westerly at times, 10 to 15 miles per hour. Here you have it. When will we see relief? Not until about Monday will we return to seasonal temperatures. And what I'm talking about is that the average high in Livermore this time of the year is 88 degrees, forecasting 89 by Monday. Tomorrow we have temperatures in that Livermore area, a good 20 degrees above normal.
Yeah.
20 degrees above normal.
And the air's bad, so you can't open the windows at night.
You're
so bad.
You're spot on there, yeah.
Okay,
Hey,
Roberta.
thanks. Next, imagine how terrifying it is to rely on somebody else so you can breathe.
Now imagine if those people don't deliver. The ordeal for an asthma patient trying to get oxygen. You know, thanks to our Consumer Watch volunteers, one of our viewers is breathing easier, literally.
On the Consumer Watch, Sue Kwan here with that story and other recent successes.
You know, for months we've been telling people, call, 5 helps you. Well, you know, these cases prove that knowing your consumer rights can resolve problems, and in this case, have you breathing easier.
It's terrifying to put your life in another person's hands and they aren't doing their job correctly.
A case of severe asthma means Deanne Hendricks needs oxygen around the clock. She cannot get her supplier, ITC, to deliver an emergency backup tank, and then ITC runs out of portable oxygen canisters, making trips impossible.
Only one sea tank for the weekend and it's Father's Day. Shame on you, ITC.
Then Deanne remembered our number.
Ding, 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 ding. In my head, I said, 5 helps you.
Consumer Watch volunteer Glenn put in a call to ITC and they found another supplier. Deanne is now breathing a sigh of relief. Other viewers we've helped include Teresa King, who spent $1,700 on a Lazy Boy reclining sofa. The sofa back leans at odd angles because of a broken railing. 5 repair calls and the couch is still crooked. 1 call from Consumer Watch straightened things out. Teresa got a refund. John Martinez got a parking ticket for a car he hasn't owned in 4 years. The car's in LA now and the police blamed the mistake on a computer problem. But after a month and several calls from John, his name was still on the ticket. Well, no runaround for Consumer Watch. We stepped in and had the glitch fixed. Okay, so if you have a consumer problem, call our volunteers at 888-5-HELPS-YOU Monday through Friday, 11 to 1. Any other time you can leave a message. So it is proven we do help people.
Testimonials.
Yes.
Yeah. Right, Sue, thanks.
Good work. We'll be right back.
I'm Dana King. Coming up tonight at 6 o'clock, fire retardants are a major tool used to fight wildfires. But not even firefighters know the chemicals that make up that red stuff, how the top secret formula could harm the environment or your health. Also, a different kind of fireproofing, the materials you can build your house with to keep it from burning down. How much more it'll cost you. So we'll have that and much more at 6 o'clock. Back to you.
We'll see you then.
Thank you.
CBS Evening News, Katie Couric coming up next tonight. A CBS News exclusive. Did the manufacturers of the infamous FEMA trailers know they were toxic?
They've been on that story for a while, and we will be back at 6, and we're always on CBS 5.
This is CBS 5 Eyewitness News.
What a day in San Francisco! What a day in California! What a day for America!
A landmark civil rights ruling.
Now he really is. He is my future husband. We can get married.
California now the second state in the country to legalize gay marriage.
Oh my God, really?
And same-sex couples are already setting their wedding date.
And unbelievably hot, 93 in San Francisco, and record-breaking triple-digit temperatures elsewhere. But something many of us do in the morning may be making things worse. We have two big stories today, and we start with history made in San Francisco.
The California Supreme Court says the state's voter-approved ban on same-sex marriage violates the Constitution. Those cheers on the steps of the courthouse, moments after the justices released their decision. Simon Perez giving us specifics on the ruling, tells us when gay and lesbian couples can start getting married again. Simon.
Alan, that California Supreme Court vote was a close one. 4 justices in favor of allowing same-sex marriages, and 3 who said it really shouldn't be up to the court to decide.
Means planning a wedding really quickly. It means tremendous joy and pride and a sense of what America is about, which is equality.
Beyond happy. Today, California's making history, and it's a love story.
In the wake of the California Supreme Court's 4-3 ruling, same-sex couples from anywhere in the country could be getting married anywhere in the state in as soon as 30 days.
We won!
Here in California, if you come and get married and you're a same-sex couple, you have it'll be recognized here in California.
No matter where you're from.
Right.
So go ahead and fill that out and bring it back to me. Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Some couples are already making appointments for next month.
Giving a separate designation for lesbian and gay relationships demeans them and reinforces historical prejudices. It says that they're different, and that's no longer good enough in California. We don't want to have our laws embody differences that reflect prejudices, historical or current.
We are disappointed, we are surprised, because we do not believe that it is a judicial function to redefine the basic institution of society.
While the dissenting justices worried about the court usurping the power of the people, who have already voted to make marriage between one man and one woman, the majority countered, the right to marry is so integral to an individual's liberty that it may not be eliminated or abrogated by the legislature or by the electorate. Once again, at least 30 days before any same-sex couples can get married in California. And we've been out here many times on important court decision dates regarding same-sex marriages, and a lot of times there are some heated discussions between the pro-same-sex marriage crowd and the pro-traditional marriage crowd, but today that just never materialized because there were hardly any anti-same-sex marriage people out here, Alan. It was basically people who were just very satisfied with this decision.
All right, Simon Perez in San Francisco, thanks.
Well, the ruling comes more than 4 years after San Francisco opened the door to gay marriage, allowing thousands of same-sex couples to wed at City Hall. Today, Mayor Gavin Newsom and his supporters stood in that same hall and declared victory.
The Constitution is the winner today. The Constitution was affirmed today. And the Constitution's bigger than all of us. It's about human dignity. It's about civil rights. It's about time in California. As California goes, so goes the rest of the nation. It's inevitable. This door's wide open now. It's gonna happen, whether you like it or not. This is the future, and it's now.
CBS 5 political editor Hank Plant was the first reporter to announce today's decision, a decision that will define Mayor Newsom for the rest of his political career. Isn't that right, Hank?
Absolutely, Barbara. In fact, right after today's ruling, I sat down with Mayor Gavin Newsom for the only local one-on-one TV interview that he did today.
And then I heard cheers outside, and I said, well, what are those? And then someone said, we won. And so it was just an incredible roller coaster of emotion, but exhilarating, and what a gift to be just part of it, to be here now, to be in San Francisco and to celebrate with real people. I mean, to see those faces of the people out in the audience today as we celebrated with them that are crying. I mean, this is about real people. This is about real lives.
Did you get emotional yourself?
Oh yeah, no, I walked right into my office after, right after I heard, and had to put myself together. Called my father and my fiance, and so it was very meaningful for me to reach out to him and then to reach out to the person I'm marrying this July.
Did you think you would see this day 4 years ago when you launched all this?
I had hope, but you know, hope springs eternal, but to be candid with you, I didn't know. Look, I mean, not to use the political frame here, because it's really not about politics, and that was proven today, but 6 out of 7 of the Supreme Court justices were from Republican governors, appointed by Republican governors. It's a pretty conservative court, and so candidly, I didn't know that we would be successful.
More on that interview tonight at 6. Now, as for what's next in this battle, all of this is expected to go to the voters in November.
What a day in California!
The celebration in the gay community may be short because gay leaders must now mobilize to keep their hard-fought victory. Opponents of gay marriage will put the issue to the voters in a ballot measure which is expected to qualify for this coming November election.
There is a marriage amendment that will be on the ballot this November, putting the language of Proposition 22 into the California Constitution. We believe the voters will adopt that amendment. That amendment would define marriage as a union of a man and a woman.
It could be a $20 million political fight.
We can celebrate for about an hour, and now we're back to work. They are determined to try and take this decision away. We don't know if a victory for them at the ballot box will do that, but we're going to fight it. We're confident we can win.
But it's also a presidential election ballot, which might put candidates on the spot, especially Democrats who need the gay vote, but who are reluctant to talk about gay marriage.
Democrats, it puts them in a bind, because look, if you're trying to win the Bubba vote, if you're trying to win the worker in Peoria who's been thrown out, the Reagan Democrat, the NASCAR dad, the security mom, this issue is particularly difficult for them because they don't want to inflame, if you will, the folks in the pews.
For his part, Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger today issued a statement saying he'll uphold the Supreme Court's ruling, adding, "I will not support an amendment to the Constitution that would overturn this state Supreme Court ruling." Now, both Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama support civil unions for gays, but Barbara and Alan, neither of them has come out in support of full gay marriage.
All right, thank you, Hank Plant.
To the equal protection of the laws as guaranteed by the California Constitution.
This is a day that gay and lesbian rights supporters have been waiting for years. Sherry Hu continues our coverage in San Francisco's Castro District, a neighborhood in the mood to celebrate, I'm sure.
It is, Alan. 5 o'clock, usually time when restaurants are promoting happy hour. But tonight here in the Castro, take a look. It is victory hour. After years of anticipation, today's ruling on same-sex marriage is the buzz in one of America's most famous gay neighborhoods.
It's very festive. People have been coming in, very cheerful.
It's part of the evolving moral consciousness of this nation.
Woo! What's up? It's good.
All good for couple Robert Munzer and David Ball.
We had got a domestic partnership in 2003 already, so which has given us, additional protection and rights. But this is taking it so much further and puts us equal with the rest of everybody.
Oh yes, we probably will get married, yes. I've been waiting all my life to get married.
This is important. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I'm so excited.
John Weaver phoned his partner with the news.
I cannot be any more married than I am after 32 years. I'm in a monogamous relationship. I
very much in love with my partner. I'm very lucky. But however, I think by making a public declaration of that relationship does strengthen it.
For Troy Burnett, San Francisco is a city known to make groundbreaking news.
I think it is absolutely fantastic for the community. It's going to bring people close together. It's going to bring us closer together with the heterosexual community. It's going to just kind of make people feel equal and not separated.
Now we're hearing of plans for a 5:30 rally and a big street celebration to start at 7 o'clock. Organizers say they are going to try to close down Castro. Now, Ellen, we checked with SFPD, and right now a spokesman is saying it's in the works.
They didn't have a Halloween party there. This may be the biggest party of the year.
That's right.
All right, Sherry, who thanks. Now, across the state, could be a different story. Gay marriage may face an uphill battle. Our exclusive PICS poll finds a majority of Californians would support a constitutional amendment that defines marriage as between a man and a woman only. 52% said they support that. 36% are opposed. 12% say they're not sure. And some people we talked to, of course, do not agree with the court decision today.
I'm actually disappointed in the decision myself because I believe that the traditional marriage is very important to our lifestyle and our society, actually. I'm not against gays as a people, but I think marriage ought to be between two different sexes.
Marriage in general, I just believe, should be between a man and a woman, and however they choose to live their lives other than that is their business, but a family unit, I believe, needs a man and a woman together to raise children and be together.
Now let's bring in Judge LaDoris Cordell with what this ruling means on the legal front. Hi, Judge Cordell.
Hi.
What about those couples who got married before, all those thousands of couples we saw? Now, will they now be married since this has been overturned, or do they have to do it again?
Well, about 4,000 couples were married, and then all those marriages were invalidated. They were told you're not valid. So what this decision does, it doesn't revalidate them. They're going to have to go register and then get married again.
And who is going to make the final decision on this? This cannot, I understand, go to the Supreme Court, but there are people talking about putting something on the ballot. Is that possible, that an initiative can overturn this again?
Well, it's certainly possible that the initiative is likely going to happen. The issue is, will it withstand constitutional muster? If you take the time and really look at this decision, particularly if you look at pages 6 and 7, the court goes out of its way to say that marriage is a fundamental right that cannot be deprived, it cannot be taken away from any Californian. So the court has also said, and it specifically says, that any initiative that's started by the electorate will not survive if it takes away a fundamental basic right, and they spend a lot of time in that decision talking about marriage and saying it is a basic fundamental right. So it brings into question whether or not an initiative that seeks to limit marriage to just one group of people would even be able to, would even fly, because the court will probably find that it's unconstitutional.
All right, so we may still be going through this, but it may mean nothing. Thank you, Judge LaDoris Cordell.
Sure.
Now, you can go to CBS5.com for more coverage of this historic ruling. You can download the entire court document and find out what local bloggers have to say. Coming up, an attack on Barack Obama, not from Hillary Clinton, but from President Bush.
Hot temperatures, an egg, a sidewalk. Is this heat wave all it's cracked up to be? Stick around, we'll find out.
Absolutely, Mike, because at least a half a dozen new record high temperatures today. But wait, it ain't over. Your pinpoint forecast for Friday's hot temperatures up next.
Record high temperatures making it harder for fire crews to fight two fires in Sonoma County. A fire that started at St. Helena and Tarwater Roads north of Santa Rosa has grown from 2 acres up to 60. Firefighters say flames creeping closer to buildings in that rural area right now. Another wildfire broke out near Geyserville. That fire charred more than 120 acres. The heat is also causing some delays on BART right now, about 20 to 30 minutes system-wide.
Yeah, today is the hottest day of the year so far. Triple-digit temperatures are being felt in some areas, including Redwood City. Also breaking records today, San Francisco at 95 degrees, San Jose at 99, and Santa Rosa also at 99. The last time it was this hot on this date was back in the 1970s, or in 1970. The heat is becoming almost unbearable. Mike Sugarman with how bad some workers have it. You're out working in it today, Mike.
Well, you're not kidding, and I bought this thermometer. 5 o'clock here in Pleasant Hill, it's 99.5 degrees. So how hot is that? We've always heard, come on, an egg, a sidewalk. Is it going to boil? Is it going to fry? We'll come back in a minute and find out. It may or may not be hot enough to fry an egg on the sidewalk, but it certainly is at the Giant Chef in Pleasant Hill.
If you have a margarita and you're in the shade, it's okay.
Mary Ryan is anywhere but.
Andy, do you want the cranberry?
She's no fan of this weather, but Mary Ryan is a tornado unto herself as a waitress at one of the busiest lunch places in town.
It feels kind of weird. It's easy in here.
Here is inside the restaurant where it's a cozy 79 degrees. Her station is the patio where it's 97. Then she has to come into the kitchen to pick up her orders where the real heroes of the day, the chefs of Giant Chef, spend their day. I don't know how these guys do it. Even working a short shift as a short order cook, it's miserable. Let's check the thermometer. Inside thermometer, 148 degrees. 148 degrees. And let's not forget the times Mary has to go into the freezer where it was 28 degrees. Going back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, I probably don't want to know what's going on with my cardiovascular system.
If you can't stand the heat, stay out of the kitchen. Good luck to these hardworking folks. So did it fry? Look at that, it fried. All right, maybe not. Maybe we did that inside. All right, it didn't fry, I'm kidding around. It's gotta be 158 degrees. It's just a yolk. Roberta, I got egg on my face.
Ellen and Barbara.
Thanks, Roberta.
All right, next, it's something a lot of us do during heat waves, but it actually makes conditions worse in your house, unhealthy.
And it started as a joke, led to a suicide, and now criminal charges. The mother accused of bullying a girl to death on MySpace. The sweltering heat outside can be extremely dangerous.
It can. Dr. Kim Mulvihill tonight with folks who are cooling off an old-fashioned way.
Is there anything that you've noticed from the heat? Does it make you feel different?
It's definitely a little harder to breathe, a little harder to walk around, kind of, yeah, because it's a little, I don't know, kind of feel humid and uncomfortable, yeah.
It's mostly worn out.
Just sweating a lot, I think that's it. It feels like I'm getting a workout without getting one, so. Apparently it's going to be hotter, even hotter tomorrow, so I need to dress appropriately, I guess.
So what's tomorrow? What are you going to plan to do differently tomorrow to stay?
I guess it'll be Friday casual in shorts and t-shirt. I mean, I don't know what else. Maybe go for a swim if I could.
It's kind of hot out, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very hot today.
What are you doing to stay cool?
Well, drinking my Frappuccino.
So what else have you been doing today to stay cool?
Well, I'm going to be going to swim practice at 7:30 tonight. So.
Great idea.
One way to stay cool is a cooling center, and a list of those centers is on our website, cbs5.com.
Well, next, it's the first time it's ever happened. The mother now indicted for a MySpace hoax that led to suicide.
And Barack Obama's getting it from all sides. The criticism from President Bush, Obama says, is targeted straight at him.
Barack Obama is accusing President Bush of launching a false political attack against him. Susan Roberts on the comments many believe were meant to slam Obama's approach to foreign policy.
Barack Obama is fighting off a double-barreled Republican attack. It started with President Bush's speech to the Israeli parliament, which Obama took as a direct hit.
Some seem to believe that we should negotiate with the terrorists and radicals. We've heard this foolish delusion before.
In the past, Obama has suggested he would meet with leaders of Cuba and Iran in the interests of diplomacy, but says it does not mean he would go easy on dictators. He released a statement saying, "George Bush knows that I have never supported engagement with terrorists. The politics of fear do nothing to secure the American people." The White House says the president's comments were not directed at Obama, but Republican contender John McCain clearly targeted his likely opponent.
I think that Barack Obama needs to explain why he wants to sit down and talk with a man who is the head of a government that's a state sponsor of terror, that is responsible for the killing of brave young Americans, that wants to wipe Israel off the map.
As Obama marches steadily closer to clinching the Democratic nomination, the race now looks more like a preview of the general election. Susan Roberts, CBS News, Washington.
A Missouri mother now faces federal charges for a cyberbullying case that led to a girl's suicide. Lori Drews, accused of pretending to be a teenage boy on MySpace and then chatting with her 13-year-old neighbor, Megan Meyer. 2 years ago, Meyer hung herself after receiving cruel messages on MySpace, including one that said the world would be better off without her.
Whether the defendant in this case could have foreseen the tragic choice made by Megan, she is accountable for her fraudulent actions.
Now, the grand jury that issued the indictment says that Drew and other adults used the girl's MySpace information to torment her. Prosecutors say the hoax started after Drew's daughter had a falling out with Megan Meyer.
And we'll be right back, but we leave you with some pictures from Crown Beach today.
Oh, don't
where
you wish you
people
were there?
are out there enjoying this record-breaking heat, getting into the water, enjoying the sand, and just having a pleasant evening when we don't get these very often, so we have to enjoy it. You don't get this kind of weather very many days, do we, Roberta?
But that water is cold.
Yeah, that's what they need today. It's 95 degrees. They need to cool off.
All right, we'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
I'm Dana King. Coming up tonight at 6, we will take a closer look at today's historic ruling legalizing same-sex marriage. Plus, today's heat wave is now causing all sorts of transit problems, and not just on BART. We're going to tell you where rail lines may actually be buckling. Wendy Takuta's very personal story, why her family was forced to give up everything they had, and why her mother will get to reclaim a bit of her past this weekend. All that and more at 6. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Dana.
See you then. At 10 o'clock this morning, it was 87 degrees on the Golden Gate Bridge. I couldn't believe it.
It sure was. It was 89 degrees already in Pleasanton at 10 o'clock in the morning. And it looks like so far today we've seen at least 5 or 6 record highs, including 95 degrees in the city of San Francisco. Yeah, 95. That breaks the old record of 91 set back in 1970. Here is our CBS extended forecast. Yep. Ditto tomorrow, and then gradual cooling through the weekend, but we won't see seasonal highs until about Tuesday.
All right. Thanks for watching. CBS Evening News with Katie Couric is next.
Have a